I believe in Hashem. I trust in Hashem. There never is a moment when that I am alone and I'm on my own. I believe and I trust in Hashem, because I understand that He's holding my hand and every step is perfectly planned. He's holding me tight, so I'll be all right. I believe and I trust in Hashem. In a little town in Russia, in the Vitebsk area, there was an innkeeper by the name Rebbe Yaakov. He lived very close to the town of Kamen, which in Russian means a stone, although we don't know why it was given that name. Kamen is not a very common name, but that was its name. Rebbe Yaakov had a rough year and was not able to pay the pirates the rent on time. The pirates, who was not a good friend of the Jews, threw Rebbe Yaakov and his wife and kids out of the inn. For Rebbe Yaakov and his family, this was very difficult. After living so many years in that place and now out in the streets, made them feel very, very bad. Out of desperation, Rebbe Yaakov went to the Tzemach Tzedek to get advice and a bracha. When he came to the Tzemach Tzedek and poured out his heart, the first thing the Tzemach Tzedek said to him was, "Have betachin in Hashem." The Tzemach Tzedek comforted him, made him feel good. He also wrote a letter to a chassid of his who lived in Kamen, a chassid by the name Moshe Ratner. In the letter, the Rebbe is asking him to please speak to the pirates to get Rebbe Yaakov back into the inn. Rebbe Yaakov left the Tzemach Tzedek in high hopes. He knew that everything is going to work out fine. But when he took a look at the envelope and he sees to whom did the Tzemach Tzedek address this letter, his hopes fell low again. The Tzemach Tzedek is sending him to Moshe Ratner. You see, there were two Moshes in his town. One of them was short, was called Moshe HaKatan. The other one was tall. He was called Moshe HaGadol. The short one was the most important person in the town. He was the richest. He even owned the post office, which in those days was allowed to be owned by a private person. He was also someone that did a lot of business with not just one Peretz, but with many of the Peritzim. And he had connections with them, and from time to time used out his connections to help Yidden who were in trouble with one pirate or another. How did Moshe HaKatan become so rich? Well, actually, he was also called Moshe Shimshons. Shimshon was his father, who was first the owner of the post office and very, very rich, and had all the connections with the Peritzim. He was the most important person in town, and everybody loved him and respected him because he was always helping. Whoever he was able to help with money, with advice, any kind of help, Shimshon was there. And therefore they loved him. And there was even a case when someone was ready to give up his life to save Shimshon. This happened when there was a Polish uprising against the Russians. About 3,000 Polish soldiers gathered in the woods near the city Kamen. And then they captured the city of Kamen and began terrorizing and bothering the Yidden. And in order to scare them, they went and captured the most important person of the town, Shimshon. And they said, "You are accused of spying for the Russians, so we are going to hang you." When the Yidden heard about this, they came running into the shul with their tehillims, davening to Hashem for help. In the middle, Nachum the Melamed came running into the shul, and he said, "My brothers, they want to hang Shimshon. Oy vey, my brothers, they want to hang Shimshon. We got to do something. We can't let that happen. If they were going to hang someone like me, no, there are many Nachums like me in town, so it will be one less. But Shimshon, there's only one Shimshon. Our town cannot let that happen." Nachum ran out of the shul, leaving all the Yidden behind. Not knowing what to do, the Yidden just continued saying Tehillim. What did Nachum do? He ran to the marketplace, and he found them already putting the noose, the ropes, around Shimshon's neck. He screamed out to them, "Wait a minute! You got the wrong guy! I'm the spy! You're supposed to hang me, not him!" And they just said to him, "Leave us alone. We're busy." But Nachum did not leave them alone. He ran over, grabbed the ropes from Shimshon's neck, and put it on his own. And he says, "I'm the spy. I'm the one you want to kill." They pulled the ropes off and tried to put it back on Shimshon's neck, and they pushed Nachum down to the floor. Shimshon was made out of tough stuff, so he got up and he started to wrestle with them. The two executors had a very hard time getting him off of them. And it continued on while all the Polish soldiers are watching and having a lot of fun. Suddenly, somebody gave a scream, "The Russian Cossacks are coming!" When the Polish heard this, they are so scared from the Russian Cossacks. They are no match to them, the strongest soldiers of Russia. And they all picked up and ran as fast as they can. They ran for their lives, leaving behind Shimshon and Nachum. Pale with fright, they both recovered from their shock and fell on each other's neck and cried tears of joy. That's the kind of Ahavas Yisrael was in those days, that a Yid was ready to give up his life for another Yid. Well, let's get back to our story. So, Moshe HaKatan, the short one, inherited from his father. He got all the money in the post office and also his connections with all the Peritzim. Rather, let's go to Moshe HaGadol, the one that the Tzemach Tzedek sent this letter to. Moshe HaGadol was a rich guy who had a store, and that's it. He had no connections with the Peritzim, although he helped from time to time. He was a kind man, and whenever he was able to, he did help, but he didn't have connections. That's why when Reb Yankel saw what the Tzemach Tzedek wrote on the envelope, that this letter goes to Moshe Ratner, Moshe HaGadol, He thought maybe the Rebbe mixed up the names, and by mistake, he wrote Moshe Ratner. If anyone can help me, for sure, Moshe HaKatan, the richest man who has connections, he can help me. Not Moshe HaGadol, Moshe Ratner. How can he help me? But he didn't want to go back to the Rebbe to ask the Rebbe if he made a mistake. But he met the sons of the Tzemach Tzedek. The Tzemach Tzedek had 7 sons who were great tzaddikim and talmidei chachamim. He also had 2 daughters. And he went over to the sons of the Tzemach Tzedek and showed the letter and said, Moshe Ratner has no connections at all with the Paritzim. And your father, the Rebbe, is sending me to Moshe Ratner, Moshe HaGadol. What should I do? And they all answered and said, Reb Yankel, our father never, ever makes a mistake. That's right. A Rebbe never makes a mistake because a Rebbe is directed by Hashem himself. You go home, they said to him, and everything will be all right. Have betachon in Hashem. He went back to Kamen, and he brought the letter to Moshe Ratner. Moshe Ratner was overjoyed to get a letter from the Rebbe. His wonder grew when he started to read what the Rebbe wants from him. The Rebbe wants him to speak to the pirates to get Reb Yankel back into the inn. He was wondering, how am I able to do so? I have no connections. But if the Rebbe sent you to me, I'm guaranteed, and you can rest assured, that the Rebbe knows what he's doing. If he said that you're going to be helped by going to me, I am going to see what I can do. Why don't you stay overnight at my house? And tomorrow, after davening, we'll go see what we can do. He took him to the attic, where there was a beautiful bedroom. It was a bed, it was a table with a candle. And Reb Yankel was not in a mood to go to sleep. He wanted to stay up and say Tehillim. And he sat there for hours, pouring out his heart to Hashem. He was so deeply engrossed in saying Tehillim that he didn't even hear the crash in front of the house of a wagon that broke. The axle of the wagon broke and crashed down to the ground. Who was in the wagon? A pirate who was on his way home to his castle with his daughter, and the wagon broke. The pirate was half asleep and got up, walked out of the wagon, and looks around. It's dark everywhere. It's the middle of the night, except for one light shining from the window of the attic. You know which light that was. The one that Reb Yankel was using to say Tehillim. So the pirates asked the coachman, please knock on the door and see if we can go in. Didn't take long, and you saw shadows moving in the house, and the door opens. Who was it? Moshe HaGadol. Moshe HaGadol welcomed the pirates, the coachman, and the pirates' daughter into the house, warmed up some hot tea, and gave them some refreshments. And he said to the pirates, listen, you're not going to get it fixed in the middle of the night. So you can stay over. I have another bedroom. You could sleep here for tonight. And tomorrow you'll go on your way. The pirates was more than happy to be invited. And he spent the night there. The next morning, after he got the wagon fixed, he went to Reb Moshe Ratner and he said, Rabbi, you treated me so well. How much money do I owe you? And he takes out a big fat roll of bills, of rubles. He says, how much do I owe you? Nothing. Rabbi, come on. I disturbed you in the middle of your rest. You gave me food. You gave me a place to sleep. Tell me how much. I really want to pay you. For us Jews, this is called a good deed, a mitzvah of inviting guests. Well, Rabbi, then, how can I show you my appreciation? So actually, I myself, I don't need anything right now. But you could do my friend a big favor. What is it? If it's in my power, I will do it. Well, my friend Yankel lost his inn. You took it away from him because he didn't pay, and I understand that. Can you do him a favor? And the pirate says, yes. Not only I will let him back in, I'll give away the inn to him. I'll write it over. I'll write the deed over to his name. He can keep the inn forever. They called down Reb Yankel from the attic. He came down, and the pirates signed the paper that now Yankel becomes the owner of that inn. The pirates left happily, and of course, Moshe Ratner was very happy that he was able to help. He was able to speak to the pirates exactly like the Rebbe said in the letter. And happier than all, of course, was Reb Yankel, the innkeeper, who realized when the Rebbe sends you to someone, the Rebbe does not make a mistake. He said, you hear, Moshe? I thought the Rebbe sent me to the wrong Moshe. If I would have gone to the other Moshe, who knows where would end up. I came here because the Rebbe knows what he says. The Rebbe has Ruach HaKodesh. When the Rebbe says something, it happens exactly. You know that our Rebbe also said something to us. And the Rebbe said it to everyone. Higiya zman geulaschem. The time of our Geula has come. We're ready to greet Mashiach any moment now. So let's get ready. If the Rebbe said so, it's going to happen because the Rebbe's words always come true. Don't forget to make this a good hakel, give tzedakah, and say a tefillah. We want Mashiach now. Seid gesund.